So we are back with the how to build diagonally in Minecraft video tutorial series. You see that we are right back where we ended last time. You may not hear the fan noise as much now, but now you're probably going to be hearing the AC running. I had to turn it on. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm thinking it's somewhere in the range of 90 to 100 degrees outside, and I happen to be located in a motorhome, and you can imagine that it gets a little bit toasty in there. As I said in the last video, things will change and develop over time, and part 1 pretty much covered everything that I was going to do in part 2, and I'm not going to do 2 different styles. We're just going to stick with one and keep it simple. So we're going to go ahead and just lay out some block choices. You don't have to use my exact block choices. You may use whatever you wish. And I forgot to mention in the last video, throughout this series and any of my work that you see for now, I'm using the Soartex Fanver texture or resource pack. And I'm also using the Sildur's enhanced default shaders. I believe it's Sildur. I need to double check, make sure I got the right name on that. I should put links in the details below. We'll see if I remember to do that. But I wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. I noticed also in the last video that my software encoder got overwhelmed. I don't know if that'll happen again. It didn't seem to mess with the video too much, although I heard some weird noises in it, but I want to not worry about it, and we're just going to try to continue. Hopefully I have all my settings right. It's kind of tricky setting things up working with a laptop like this. And I've got other videos planned. I actually did one, but it took a long time to show how to set up your various install for World Edit and Forge and all of that. Keep in mind throughout this series and any other videos that I do, I use World Edit almost exclusively. And by that I mean that I do not use MC Edit. I always stick with what I can use within the Minecraft world. So I use World Edit. I use a World Edit CLI extension that works about half of the time, that allows me to see what I've selected. And I use Forge, of course, and I will have a video that will show how to install and do all of this, but I'm going to have to assume that either you've already done that and you're all set up and able to use World Edit in your Minecraft installation, or you're able to do some of the things that I'm doing without using World Edit. I'm a bit of I've always been this way, where I always have to do all the steps, and I don't use a lot of shortcuts. So most of my building will be just using the normal. I have cheats enabled, creative mode of course in Minecraft, and I expect you to have yours set up the same way, unless you're able to set it up in survival and do it without cheats. But I use commands, just normal Minecraft commands all the time, and I usually just build using the normal Minecraft methodologies. But I have World Edit mainly for saving my schematic, loading my schematic. Sometimes I'll use the stack command because I've just found that and it's kind of useful. I like to set the blocks a lot with World Edit, so these kind of things might be going on. I will try to keep that down as much as possible, but just keep that in mind as we continue, and I won't go into all this detail about all that later on. We'll just get going. So let's pick up some blocks here and have a little bit of fun building. And we'll find a space not far from my other stuff. Got a modern house there that I built using, this looks like a good spot to start. We'll go ahead and just kind of lay out some things here. Yeah, we're getting that message again. So what I would like, I think, is we'll do some oak wood, we'll do some spruce wood planks, we might do some dark oak planks. Now we're definitely going to use cobblestone, and we might use one of the andesites, I don't know, we like to use rock. And I want to use a splash of color, and I don't like using wool plus wool, and Soartex Fanver looks kind of funky. I might use stone bricks. Can't say for sure on that. I just lost my axe. Here's mossy stone bricks. I don't use cracked or chisel a lot, but I bet I could. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay out, you've seen people do this all the time, and I just started recently doing this myself. I'm just going to lay out a bunch of blocks here. And what we're going to do is the middle mouse button allows us to pick a block. And every once in a while I might come over here just for the sake of speed and grab a block that I want to use. And we only have to go through this setup kind of process once. So now we need some stairs and slabs, of course. So we need the regular stone slab. We need, I already have that. We need the cobblestone slab. Need the stone brick slab. We're gonna get bricks as well and use them. We want the cobblestone stairs. And the stone brick stairs. Of course, we'll want the oak wood stairs. I should explain a little bit about what we're doing here, and pardon me if I've got a little bit of a mush mouth. I'm kind of leaning on my knuckles here, so on my face. It's just the way I have things set up, you'd laugh if you saw it. I have a laptop on a table off to one side. I have my mouse in my hand on my right. And then the laptop is to my left, and I've got a couple of erasers to hold my hand, my left hand above the touchpad, so I don't blink out and cause myself some issues. So it's a very tricky, kind of a strange setup that I have here. Try to keep this as quick as we can. We don't want to be sitting here all day doing this. Okay, so last but not least, we need some, of course, stone brick stairs. And we need some kind of a color. And I like to use the terracotta. But maybe in this case, I don't know if I want to try red or not. Let's look at red. Heck, well, let's do red. And dark oak stairs, of course. Okay. I don't know if I'll use hay bales. I won't lay out any more blocks. This will be enough to get us started for this part of the video. Because we just want to get into the building, right? Excuse me, I've got weather problems again. I need to figure out how to turn the weather off, but I kind of don't want to, because I kind of like having the variation every once in a while, because I have the daylight set not to cycle, and it's at 6 o'clock, and I'll change it to 1800 when I want to test the lighting, if I have enough lighting or not, because I don't want monsters spawning. One of the things that I've really come to not like, oh, I already had that there, and when I download stuff from Plant Minecraft, is people have not lit their creations very well. They haven't taken the time to do that, and so they've got monsters everywhere inside their buildings. A lot of them don't even do interiors. We're going to go through the whole process. So let's lay out, we'll just go ahead and use cobblestone for this. Let's lay out a pattern. Now you can get all specific pressing F3 and figure out where you want to face. So right now I'm facing east toward this water feature. This is south towards the buildings. North, of course, will be the opposite, and west will be over here, I guess, towards my last diagonal build. If you want to control like where your light comes in and get all fancy architectural wise, you can do that. I don't want to make a huge building, so I don't want to take a lot of your time up doing this. Let's see what we can accomplish here. So remember, we want to build in one direction. So the direction that we are going to build is going to be towards the inside, even though I'm doing it in reverse. So you get a little confused there. Try to understand that's what we're doing. Remember how I showed you that you can use a pattern in the metal? We're going to go ahead and try that. Or do we want to just have the 5 block? We could do that. That's because we want to do something a bit different, you know. Have one wall that's a little larger than the other. I don't lay blocks really fast. I'm not some elite Minecraft personality over here. You'd have to do 4. Yeah, 1. I don't know. This might be too big. Yeah, we're getting a little large if we do it that way. I'm going to keep a space of 3, so we've got my space of... Okay, so there's my space of 3. If I stuck 1 here, we'd have a space of 3 there. I think I'll just do it this way. And... yeah, we'll just do it this way. I think otherwise it's going to be too large. Let's keep it really small and simple. I can always expand it after I get a feel for how big it is. Change it up if we want to. But you kind of develop a sense as to where things are as you do this. So this is good practice for you, whatever else you decide to do with this information. Did I do 5 here? Or did I do 1, 2, 3, 4? I want to have... yes, I was going to put a support here. And then... no. I guess we're just... I want 5. Yeah. Lower the grass. I want to do it with 5 in the middle. I want this pattern where I have 1 on each end. I like that idea. I want to do that. So that's what we're going to do. Alright. I think we'll keep the middle part of 3. No, wait a minute. It would have to be... because we want to have a space of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. 1, 2, 3, no, it's supposed to be 1, 2, 3, space. There's supposed to be a support. So already we can kind of see how what we do on the side will affect what we have in the middle. Now what I need in the middle here, if I was going to have a support here, and I want to keep it the same, I have to figure out how I'm going to do this, because I'm just going to put these temporarily here. You don't have to follow along with this part. So now we've got my space of 3, we've got my space of 3, space of 3, here's a space of 3. It means we need a support here, so we really have to do 5 on the end, so that's going to make it square. But what if we don't want it square? Okay, well let's try 1. And see, this is why we build out this kind of foundation, because what we're doing here is we're figuring out ahead of time where things have to be. Darn weather. I might just have to try to find a command to turn that off, because it's really annoying me. Alright, so continuing along, and notice how I'm always moving towards the inside. Yeah, that's 5. Now I want to double this up a little bit. I don't want to just leave it as a single foundation. But there we have it. I'm going to fill in the grass and destroy these top blocks because they're going to become something else. And we're not going to wait and do the floor later. We'll do it in another video, but we will do the floor. We're going to build this up with an inside and do it, the right way. Okay, so there is your layout. It looks kind of funky, but this matches our pattern, and now we've got a common center block. I'll just leave it on this, and you can pause and then copy this, and when you have it laid out, you can go ahead and continue. Okay, so the next step is, I don't want to lose track of where I am. I like to use lighter stuff at the top to make things taller, darker stuff at the top to make things appear shorter or smaller. I like to use dark wood for contrast. I'm going to go ahead and try spruce this time around for my supports and see if I like that. I don't know if I will. And I'm going to put a block, and I'll zoom out so you can see where I'm at, and you can see the spaces, which should make sense. And this is the beginning of our frame. No, excuse me. Okay. You see that we have now a space of 3 between each block. Now there's another reason. Everything here that I'm doing has a reason, and there's another reason that I've done it this way. When you're building diagonally and you want to build a door, if you happen to be using, and I'll demonstrate this, the single block method, so we'll just do it real quick. You don't have to follow this along, and you can pause the video on that last bit. Make sure that you have all that information. Now how this works with a 1, you see how I'm going just to that end-to-end corner kind of a thing there. Okay, so let's say that this is going to be where I want to create a door, right? I don't have a lot of choices here. Let's get a door texture. Just a sloppy, put a door in. So if I want to do this, now I have to figure out, okay, do I want to do a door here? Probably not. In this case, probably I want to do something like this. Okay, well, it doesn't look bad. It follows the pattern, but does that look like a normal door to you? Does that look like a door that you would normally have in a house? Now, you could try to extend it, but if you extended it and kept the pattern, you would still have, you'd always have the same problem. If you did a straight out extension, like this, now your build's going to look a little funky and lopsided because it doesn't match the pattern. There's one of Let's Lente kind of put it kind of cool. It said there's like a music or a rhythm to a building. You see how this breaks up the rhythm. It don't look very good. It might work. I mean, you can make this work, but I don't know about that. You know? Maybe even destroy these two and put a door here, maybe? I mean, I suppose you could do it that way. But it just seems kind of weird to me to have to do that. And if you're in a tight space or you're trying to challenge yourself, maybe you can play around and you can find a methodology that works for doing the traditional single block method. But what we're doing is an extension of this method, as you can tell, because we have a square shape. It's not distorted at all, it's square. And with the 3 space, now we can put my doors and my windows anywhere I want, and I have space around it so that it will look natural. I could put my door here if I wanted to. And I could stick a window on any of these side parts. And so that's kind of why we have opted for teaching you diagonal building with the chunk method, because this makes it easier to figure out where you're going to put your doors and windows. And when you're ready for the challenge of trying to do something smaller like a 2 block or something of that nature, well, then you'll be ready to go. So let's expand this foundation out a bit and build up our frame, and then this video will be done. Now I'm doing this because I want to be able to build a walkway. I want to be able to build a part that sticks out from the house, because Minecraft only works in increments by default unless you're using Sniper or some of those things that tear up your blocks. I do not want to. You can only get a 1 block distance, but that looks weird at this size. I'll explain what I mean here in a minute. But it just doesn't look right. So I try to find textures that if I put them together, and then I break up the textures using different versions. Like I'll use stone. I learned that from not Let's Lente. I might have learned it from him, but I thought I learned it from another guy that did a Building 101 video, and I can't remember the name right now. It escapes me. Here we go with the weather again. Excuse me. I just got my coffee to wash down a half allergy pill because I was sneezing my brains out a second ago. I like this view that we're going to have here of this little lake or whatever it is. That's another thing I use World Edit for. I like to regenerate the land kind of around wherever it is that I've built. Okay, so this is what it will look like once you've doubled it. And is that correct? Yes. Yes, that is correct. Okay, it looks kind of weird, but it is correct. So that's what it will look like when you're done. And then what I will do later on is I will go through and I will randomly around the edges of these cobbles. I might make a path on one side or the other, but I'll randomly add stone, block, bricks, whatever. And I'll try to make something that looks like a good path, or like a good transition to kind of make it look better. You saw that over there in my other last video in the other diagonal house. What I was trying to tell you was, let's say that we have a wall here, and this is our bottom wall, right, to a house. But we're building at a small scale, so here we decide we want to go in a block and have a little definition. You'll see in Grian and a lot of other Minecrafters that make a big deal out of making all these decorations. But if you have a house that's the size of what we're building here, and you've got this kind of a thing going on, you're going to have a huge staircase to get to the inside of it. It doesn't make any logical sense. It's not how buildings are constructed realistically in real life. You're not going to go into a transition thing like this and add, oh, let's add some, I don't know, fence or whatever to it. You know, patterns, stairs, whatever else that they would do to make some kind of, I don't know, transition or whatever they're doing here. I don't know why I went sideways, but you're not going to do all of this stuff in the sidewall of a small little house. It won't look right. It wouldn't look normal. It doesn't look natural. It might look cool. It might be a good way to show off to all your Minecraft friends, your building schools. You know, look how many blocks you can combine together in interesting patterns around your building, but it's not realistic. I kind of tend towards not uber realistic. I'm not interested in copying buildings from real life, but if I go back over here to my latest build of my diagonal house, what I chose to do here, you can see this, I've kind of randomized the different blocks that I've used, and I've used this brick on the bottom. That was a last minute addition, and then I added the wood block on top, and it actually kind of from a distance looks like it's sticking out a bit. That brick looks like it's sticking out in this texture pack, and that gives us the definition that we need to kind of make this not a flat plain wall. Plus it's a diagonal build, so we've got these interesting parts that come out. And then I just added this to the around the window, because if I sat here and I tried to add fences and blocks and do all that kind of stuff, it would look just really messy and funky, and it wouldn't make any sense. And why would anyone want to, I mean, unless you're trying to show off or something, I just don't see And why would I come in here and put in like a bunch of fence posts or something to try to define this, when technically what we're dealing with a diagonal house is this wall is flat. It doesn't look flat in the game, but in reality this would be as if I was building a house where this is one end and this is the other end, and it's one flat sheet. So that would be like sticking out in random places on the flat sheet this fence, and it doesn't make sense with the way the build is. So that's another reason why I didn't add extra stuff to the walls and around the windows like you see Grian and other people promoting. I stuck with my decorations where they made sense, like here on the door, in this little frame here to kind of fix that kind of transition. I made it around this window because it made sense up here. I could do that. And I worked with the green terracotta that I used here. And I thought that made sense. And then when I go inside, I want a lot of light, so I added these clear bits because this whole section here is lower than the rest. You can't run this slab all the way across because it doesn't make sense with the way the build is. So putting the glass blocks there worked. Kind of gives it a nice lighting feature. It fits in there, gives it a nice transition, and it just seems to work. I guess it matches the kind of 3 pattern you have down there on each side. And that's another reason. Another thing I didn't do is I didn't do any kind of patterns going down the sides. It wouldn't make sense in this particular diagonal build. So that's why we're doing things like we're doing. You might disagree with the building style, but this is the way I build. This is my building style. I guess you'd call it semi-realistic, or you'd call it logical. I don't know what you'd call it. But enough of that. Let's get in with building the frame. And so now you understand a little bit about what I'm doing. I'm going to do another series on scale and height and all of that sort of stuff, because it's important how a building feels to the player. Keep in mind that 2 blocks is player height. I think in real world measurements, a block would probably be something like 3 by 3. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. So I think 4 is a good, comfortable height to start with, and I can adjust it as I need to. Obviously, the middle part will be higher. So maybe I'll do the middle at 4, or maybe I'll do the middle at 5 or 6. I haven't decided yet. I'm just getting the frame kind of laid out and roughed in. So what I did with that diagonal house is I didn't do any of the supports along the sides or across the top or any of that. I didn't like how it looked. It felt kind of crowded. Felt like wasted space. I kind of like the feel of it with it open. I want to leave the decision on what you'll do there to you. I think I'm going to go ahead and let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I'm going to try for a 7. I'm just going to do a 7. This might change. You can do yours however you wish. I want to stick 1 block out, so I'll stick a block on top. And then what we're doing is we've got to go in by 3s, and we've got to go from this perspective. It'd be this direction. So 1, 2, 3, and it should line up. Should line up. May not have it quite right here. Yeah, I don't have it right, but that's okay. That's what we're trying to learn. Oh, that happened because my touchpad. So I think this is probably one off. Exponential, so now this is a couple of off. When we're done, it'll be the same. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got something fishy going on here. We've got to figure this out. It's the space we've got to count. It should be 3 and then 4 counting. That's a space of 4, 3, 4. Why? I lost myself. Oh yes, that's right. Remember that, and see, this is another reason why I do the pattern plan ahead. Remember that this middle segment is actually 5. So this would work, but it's not matching my middle segment that I did. The middle segment I did is actually 5, so this middle segment has to be 5, and we're getting wind. Yay! So now we've got it. Space of 3 here, and then it's 5 because in the middle is 3, and then there would be an end piece. You see, it took me a second, but I figured it out. So this would be the spine of our roof, and I might go ahead and lay out on here a couple more pieces. One thing we could do to make this a little easier is just to go through and just add that first, and then come in here and go up to it, and then go here and go up to it. This part I like about diagonal building. It makes it real easy to kind of see what we're doing. If you start in a middle area, you can kind of build up to it and it makes sense. You don't get lost. I'm also using a cursor mod. That's why my cursor looks like it does. I wanted a more transparent cursor, so that's why it is the way it is. I might need to adjust it. It seems to be a little too transparent. So this is what we'll start with. This is our frame of our building. If we get down on the ground and look up, it seems like a fairly comfortable height. There will be, of course, a wall along the bottom. We'll start that in the next video. I think we were just supposed to lay the frame and the foundation. In this video, we've probably gone on long enough. So I'm going to stand above it here so you can kind of pause and see what we've done. And I will see you in the next video where we will start building in the walls.